Hey folks, welcome. This is Dr. Bush. The process. This is week 3, attempts and targets report. This is looking at past data, trying to get a handle on week 4 lineups, trades, acquisitions, daily fantasy sports. This is part of the show. This is part of my process. I'm not doing this for anybody other than me. It's just I want to share it. That's what I've been doing with my studies and research all my life, being a biologist. That's how I do things, training students to help them become better at thinking and whatnot. So that's the whole spirit at which my whole uh, journey is about, and helping you out. I know, I don't get many looks. Most people want the fire and don't want to chop the wood. I'm trying to help you think about the thinking, and so that you can do your own work eventually. Because if you don't do that, then you won't understand why, whatever source you're using, they're picking a player at 39 and then, versus 40. What does that really mean? Are you just blindly following that? It's just nice to understand some of the foundations for uh, our approach to fantasy football. It's a lot like the scientific method, and that's what, and the reason I did all this is the reason I do uh, uh, my podcast with D Mike. If you'll check that out on Fake Pigskin, you can find links to that. We have a discussion. Uh, he's a meteorologist and by training, so he comes from a scientific future predicting background, which is one of the hardest things we as humans do, is try to predict the future. And people have tried that for centuries, right? And trying to figure out a way to predict how to grow the crops better, and just understand what the future holds. So that's, in some ways, fantasy is just a platform to do something that we as humans have been doing since uh, we were either deposited by aliens or wherever we came from. You never know. Uh, and so that's the whole philosophy here. And I appreciate you hanging around listening for my 3-minute diatribe here. So let's get on to targets and attempts. I go targets first, then attempts. So this is the team. The sum of the targets week 1 to 3. So I just added up the targets, no big deal. The rate of targeting, okay, you can be by second, by snap, by game, however you want to do that. And I have a method, and the higher the number, the higher the rate of target per unit uh, measured. And so then the scale targets, and if you've seen any of my work before, I like to scale it to the league average. So that means you get positive numbers above average and negative numbers below. To me, that makes more sense in my thinking than comparing the number 46 to 28. What does that really mean? You see, nothing really comes to you that, well, 46 is better than 28. How about plus 33 minus 40? Wow. Having that plus and minus really then takes you to that next level of visualization. And that's why I scale that, those, all my metrics really. And most people don't out there. And I think that confuses people. But if you say something's at a negative, that doesn't sound good. And what I'm saying is that's not good, okay, compared to others in the league. So I also colorized the team names for you to quickly, in a snap, see the teams that have been doing above average and teams that have been doing below average. Doesn't mean that's what's going to happen this week. I'm just showing you the trends up to this week, right? So you need, and that's part of the advanced training, and that requires a lot of work. I mean, we've got data here. I'm telling you, there's a bigger layer underneath that, the subtleties. In other words, the question is, what's going to happen this week? You know, is these trends going to stay the same or different? And you're saying, is that hard? Yes. Look at the stock market. Okay. There are winners and losers every day. People are trying to look at past trends and figure out what's the future, right? That it's tough. Care what people say. I understand pundits want to look like they know more than they do. I understand that helps in getting clicks and maybe making money and having prestige. And, you know, some people are lucky enough to get paid for this. You know, the more you sound confident, even if you're wrong, the better, you know, it kind of soothes people versus those that are a little bit more saying, hey, we don't know as much as we know. That, you know, that simple thinking, oh, well, I'm going to go with somebody who acts like they know what they're doing. That's not really the way to do it, folks. And I understand that's a simple way. It doesn't mean that's the best way at all. Okay, so some more. I'm feeling preachy here today. Okay, so scale rate of targeting, I also have that so you can see who's the worst and the best. And, you know, so Dallas and Indianapolis, for instance, Tennessee and Denver, they are not doing really good at targeting per snap or per second. So that's concerning, okay? Doesn't mean that's going to continue. It's just right now that would, if I was picking lineups, I would want to give those teams some extra thinking, okay? Especially in tie breaking, if I've got two ranked players. Let's say I've got a Tampa Bay, Godwin or Evans versus, say, somebody from Indianapolis or Tennessee or Denver, you know, or Dallas even. You know, this data would imply that the players from Tampa Bay would tend to get more targets per game. And the scale number says 33, Dallas is 8. So what is that, 4 times the amount? So if you're deciding between Cooper and Godwin, maybe that breaks the tie for you that way. You know, there are matchups, there are other things, injuries. I understand a lot of moving pieces. And that's why I have to do a lot of different metrics here to try to get, you know, the pieces of the puzzle. And remember, we don't know everything. That's what makes fantasy, that's what makes stock market, it's called uncertainty. We don't know everything, okay? And you're saying, what's that different than risk? Risk is that you know what the possibilities are. When you roll the dice from, 2 to 12, you know it's not going to roll a 13. You know you're not going to roll a 0. Okay? There is a finite possibility of rolling dice and what you get. Fantasy football is not like rolling the dice. Okay? We don't know. Players, whether the ball is a funny shape, wind, bouncing, some player falls down that shouldn't have. I mean, you know, injuries. We just will not know. There was never going to be an equation that can predict the future. You can have possibilities. You can wager on that. Maybe you're better than others. probably make money, but you'll never have 100% accuracy. So that's a big difference. Decisions under uncertainty, the hardest thing we do. So I looked at scaled targets and scaled rate of targeting. So I did the top and bottom here. So this figure allows us to look at the top and then the bottoms here and that. So if we sort the teams not by targets, because I colorized the team names by targets, but by rate of targeting, we now see Indianapolis, Dallas, Tennessee, and Denver. And Denver has a double strike. They have below average targets and now the worst in targeting rates. So they kind of have a double whammy there. New Orleans is concerning. Baltimore's concerning. Green Bay has negative numbers now. I think that was a product. Remember, we only got 3 weeks of data, right? So the data is going to change and get closer to the way it's going to be by the end of the season. Every week we get another piece of the puzzle added, okay? But this is what it is now, okay? As long as you understand that the law of numbers is really the law of big numbers. The more samples, the better. Fantasy football only has 18 games. That is not, if you ask any statistician, 18 samples is not, 18 weeks is not a lot of samples. Even if you did, 16 games by 8, what is that? 120 something, 130 something, whatever that is, that's still not a lot of samples. Statistician like thousands, tens of thousands of samples. Okay. So we in fantasy football trying to predict the future with small pieces of data. It's almost like spitting in the wind. So part of winning at fantasy football is knowing the limitations. You cannot ignore the elephant in the room. I understand there are people on the radio and things, they never talk about that. I understand. They're getting paid maybe to do that. They're not paid to, be Debbie Downers. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. So, and it's probably why I'll never be on the radio, because they don't want to hear what I got to say. They can't handle the truth. Okay? Sometimes I can't handle the truth. So here's scale targets versus scaling rate of the teams from Tampa Bay down, looking at New Orleans. So, looking at the different rates here, above and below average here of the, so this is scaled targets. So high targeting, low targeting, and then the rates of targeting. Green is positive. Red is negative, right? So Denver here, here's Tennessee. So Indianapolis and Dallas have above average targeting. See, Carolina's right at the average. See how this is called an inflection point right here? Look at that. Anything below is negative, anything above is positive. So we're doing okay. Kansas City, you're above average target. But boy, look at Tampa Bay. You're telling me that they're not going to repeat. Boy, this is a hellacious number. They're high and high. And have you heard anybody say that? I hadn't heard anybody say that on the radio, okay, at all. Not one. So here is the week targets, some of the targets, and the week 3 differences. I do like change, and I do like extremes. Okay, I think that can point to change. So look for change, and one way is to look what happened last week compared to the previous weeks. It's not going to give you all the answers, but it does make you think And that's what we're trying to do with my metrics here. So I have the team week 1, 2, 3 with total team targets, the sum of the targets scaled. We're still keeping that metric there. And then differences. Purple positive is a positive movement up, and yellow and minus means they went down in targeting. So something happened versus the preceding 2 weeks. So that can be concerning. Maybe a player was injured, the quarterback, maybe a tough matchup, whatever. I'm just showing you what happened. You need to extrapolate further and use that as part of the gumbo of thinking, right? I'm from Louisiana, so that, everything comes in and it has to be just right? Seasoned. So that's part of my process. I'm sorry, it's not just one number equals everything. Okay? If you want that, there's plenty out there, and you can pay for this player's 39th and this one's 40th. Just pick the higher one and go home and sleep. I'm never satisfied, even with my own numbers. I'm assure y'all that I am always constantly thinking, why am I wrong? Am I under right? In other words, am I right but really not at the scale? Like, wow, this is really going to be great. I think it's great, but maybe it's 10x great, right? Thursday night, James Robinson. Put him in all my lineups. Okay? Moved him. I didn't have him last week. I did have him this week. Just, it seemed when I was reading the tea leaves I thought, okay, he can get a touchdown. Wow. He got 2 touchdowns. So I was, wasn't, shh, it's my dog. I get him stirred up. Let's hit this. Okay, so the yellow are the teams that really went up. So they really, in week 3, really increased. Hey, shh. Beat me a dog. Shh. Okay. So I use that to show you the high here. So the coloration is to scale targets. So I kept that sorted, but then you can see per week, and I colorized so you can see. And of course, down here at the bottom, Chicago really went down, didn't they? Washington peaked and then flopped. So San Francisco, are they getting better? I mean, you're always reading, is Rams getting better? Philly went up a little bit. I mean, that's our metrics. Look at Dallas. What is going on? Jesus. So think about this. Very intriguing, actually. So for my article that you can look at on Fake Pigskin, I'll have all these figures for you to consider. Okay, so you can go back and stare at it for a while. See what you think. Okay, here's some targets from high. Here's Tampa Bay to low versus the up and down are the week differences. So increasing is green, decrease week 3 is red. So what is going on here at Chargers, Detroit, Jacksonville dropped down. Of course, this was before the Thursday game. Dallas, Tennessee, Denver, Washington, Chicago, Cincinnati went down. But last night they kind of found a good thing that even though they both declined in targets, I think they were able to have a good game and play here. So I think I enjoyed the game last night. It was good. Okay, so that was the visual side of it. You can check that out. And now we'll move to positional level. So I'd look at each team and notice I go from the high to the low, from the landscape down to the player level. I think if you go the opposite way, that you bias yourself, the player, and you don't think about his surroundings. Okay, so again, this is my process. You know, that's just the way I do things. So you're kind of seeing what I'm thinking and getting. So obviously, for the most part, uh, the wide receivers on teams should get the most targets. But the amount of those targets and the distribution is interesting, as well as the week 3 differences at the position level. So you can have a team difference, but did that occur across the board, or were some position favored or not favored? So each block is 4 teams. Here's Arizona, Atlanta, Baltimore, Buffalo. Uh, I see the metrics. You can take a look at that, but I like usage, and this tells me that Arizona is all in on passing to their wide receivers. Probably not a surprise. Atlanta, a lot of passing to the wide receivers, but notice the tight ends getting a little play at 23. And Baltimore is a lot like that, just that their running backs have been poorly. Look at this, 7-1 last week. What is going on at Baltimore? So that is a poor trend, and that would concern me if I was playing any of the Baltimore running backs in PPR. You need a few targets just to kind of get going there a little bit. So 12% is poor. Buffalo, look at this, 12-12. It's all passing. So like Arizona, Buffalo is even more extreme. I do note that Knox got a little bit of increase. Look, 4.5. So that does get my attention. But overall, that's double. Is that going to stay, or is that just a blip and we're disappointed week 4? So now, how do you play that? That's the thing. And 2 weeks say stay away, 1 week says take. A lot of people look at last week, the so-called recency bias. 12% is sad. So probably would play Knox as a tight end 2 streamer type if I needed something, or roll the dice in daily fantasy sports, maybe. But you should see the data. If you ignore the 2 weeks, then hey, 8, that looks great. Andrews did 8, but overall, it's been close, 6, 6, and 8. Okay, that really doesn't seem, that seems like that 6 to 8 seems realistic for week 4. This data, on the other hand, is it 3? Is it another 8? What are you getting? It's kind of like tasting something you never tasted before. What you going to get? I don't know. So you need to understand the variance here and the possibility of a 3 versus an 8. Okay? Carolina, Chicago, Cincinnati, Cleveland. Just looking at the wide receivers, 59, 61, 74. Cincinnati's all about that passing. Just imagine when they get Higbee back. Wow. Look at the wide receiver. I mean, the tight end. Boy, did he wake up last night. What is going on here? 7%? There is no way you could have looked at this data and played that. That was, whoever gambled, congratulations. I don't know what you gambled on. Maybe you were thinking the injury to Higgins, maybe. Okay. Mixon hasn't been getting a lot of targets, 4 or 5. 19% is not great. Looks like it's all about the passing. Look at Cleveland. Completely different way that the team is being handled. Not happy if I know that OBJ came back and got some good targets. That's great. But this tells me that they're distributing targets across, and there seems to be a no direct bias to where they're going. Or maybe it's, I mean, look at this, 4 and then 10, 12 and then 5, 5 and then 14. It looks to me like Cleveland is targeting based on either a gameplay they're deciding beforehand, or they're responding to a defense. So now, what are we getting week 4? What are we going to get? Are we going to get this week? Or are we going to get this week? Okay? So be aware if you're using any of the Cleveland people. Take a look at this. Really strange. Dallas, Denver, Detroit, Green Bay. So I always start with the wide receiver. 63, 55 is low, Denver. And remember, we saw some issues with targeting. This confirms my issues with Denver. 47, Detroit. It looks like they're either the weak wide receivers are forcing them to move elsewhere. Maybe that's Cleveland's deal. Green Bay, it's all about the passing. Tanyan may have got a little look, but what are you getting? Look at this, 5, 3, and 2. I don't know. I would not have him as a tight end 1 this week. You don't know. 72%. Okay. So 17 is poor. Look at Detroit on it. 32. That is spectacular. So Detroit is all about those running back targets. Now Hopkins really dropped down. 11, 9, seems steady. 5. Boy, the rug was pulled out. I hate to see that because I drafted Hopkins in a lot of places too. So what are we getting week 4, you wonder? Dallas, just be aware that, they had the overtime game and they had 16, now they're 12. They missed Gallup. Okay. Looks like they went with Schultz. So the Gallup's replacement was Schultz. So maybe this is the new norm. I think Schultz could surprise, or Jarwin. See, that's the thing. You got 2 there. 23 is not bad. Fant, look at Fant's 11 to 4. It's kind of like Hawkinson. What are you going to get? I guess if he's your 1, you just assume this was a bad week and you hope this is the weeks before week 1 and 2. Be aware. Houston, little low, 65. So it's all about the passing. Probably not surprising. Indianapolis giving a little bit of their running backs, a little bit of run. Tight end is underutilized. Look at that, 4. Had a good week and a flop. So not kind of average, great, below average. Look at these targets on the wide receivers. So I'm thinking I like that number. But if you look across, it's only 54. So that is a little low. I do like that number as well for the running backs there, Hines and whatnot. Jacksonville looks like they like their passing. I think we saw that last night. The tight end, they got the new tight end, and they like to throw. 7 and 9 is not bad for tight end targets. So that could be real information for week 5 for Jacksonville here. Robinson looks like the show. He really brought home the touchdowns, which are hard to predict, folks. So just be aware. Enjoy the good game, but don't expect 2 touchdowns each week. Kansas City does not use their running backs. Look at this. This is 10% is weak weak sauce, folks. Care what you saw last week with 5. I would not be counting on Soler for my RB1 unless I had no other choice. Like see Kelsey and his crew rolling up to 15. That's not 32 is nice. That's some good numbers there. Like to see the wide receivers at 20. That probably means picking the second wide receiver could pay off in daily fantasy sports, or maybe even playing some gamble kind of situation if you need a deep flex. Maybe there's somebody in there. Trouble is, I think they kind of have, several that could take that role, so it's a little hard to tag. 65, 54 is low. Indianapolis, 66, 50. And of course, Kansas City's weak sauce there. Okay, so Chargers, Rams, Vegas, Miami. First thing I see is Rams. It's all about the wide receivers. These are poor numbers here. Higbee, look at that. 1. Are you kidding me? So I'm off on him right now. This is kind of poor with the Chargers. Lots of passing to the wide receivers. Notice the Raiders are more balanced. Here's Waller, and that probably takes away from these guys. So 19 is okay, but look at the Rams, 29. Okay, so do like to see that they were passing to their running backs a little bit. Look at the Rams, 4. Here's 12. That's nice. So I think I'm encouraged by these positions and a little discouraged here. Miami, 21, 21, 58. It seems to be a little bit closer to balance. Grosicki really woke up. I was really worried, but, everybody likes trends of 2 here, so I think people are going to forget this week for Grosicki. This maybe 7 is closer than 13. So temper your expectations. Looks like 888. Okay, I'm convinced they'll get 8 targets. Gaskins and whoever gets 8 Malcolm Brown, I don't know. Who's the second dog? I don't know. 26 is not bad on targets, folks, versus 29. Look at that. 26. So Fuller, if he can keep back on, Parker, there's a little bit of juice in here. Be aware, of course, the Rams, you knew that. Minnesota, New England, New Orleans, the Giants. Minnesota does not use their tight ends like they should. They did get an 8, but it's like what week do you get now? Week 2 was a 4. That's weak. So a lot of variation there if you have Conklin. Running backs, Cook, Dalvin Cook. Again, kind of that same story. 12, 5, and 8. What are we getting here? 8 maybe with Madison. I like the 12 towards Cook. New England is more balanced. They're looking for balance. I believe Bolden is going to take White's place. I think everybody knows that. And there it is with 9. That seems like they're not going away. They're going to be passing. The tight end, just, I guess Henry's getting the snaps over Jonnu. So 23, 25. Trouble is that, 30 targets is fine, but they're cutting a lot of players there 30. So that's good. And I like to see going up from 12. And they did get a plus 14. But, you kind of had a down average is, 20, which is not good, and then a 30. So I don't know what type of New England team we'll get. Hopefully more this than this. New Orleans, deeply deep. These are just, yes, they're balanced, but look at the target number. We're talking for 20 targets total. Looky here. We're talking so much less. I'm I don't I'm glad New Orleans has a good defense because that's keeping them in games. These numbers are not promising at all. So I'm down on New Orleans, even coming from Louisiana. Giants 7-21. I think it's about passing. Trouble is Slayton and Shepard are hurt, so I guess Galladay and Tony. So I think I would definitely invest but probably Tony or Tony is gone. So there's probably not a lot you can do. I have picked up Ingram. I'm hoping this 7 continues closer to 10, but these are kind of low numbers so far. But Ingram was back, so I'm hoping they'll work him into shape. We'll see. Week 4 will tell me something. But I have grabbed Ingram as my bye week fill-in. Jets, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Seattle. Jets, I don't know what you're getting. Got 8 last week. That's okay. But 16 over the 3 weeks is poor. Tight end, did they even have a tight end? 3? Come on. That's not good. It's all about the wide receivers, it looks to me. Philadelphia is balanced, but that is hurting the wide receivers. Okay. Anytime there's something 50 and below, that is not a good number for your team wide receivers usage. So that means that targets are going elsewhere. I know Ertz stepped up. So, I mean, Goddard's there. It's kind of which one's week is it? Hopefully the I'm sorry. Hopefully they'll run more with the running backs. I think we're not seeing that part of the equation, but I don't think they ran much. I think everybody was upset about that. I'm worried about the balance for the wide receivers. Devonta Smith, I think, so talented, but boy, he landed on the wrong team. Okay, Pittsburgh. So it's all about Najee Harris. 20 targets. That's no way that can. I mean, look at the weeks before. So if we get 10 this week, that'd be good. Tight ends probably 6 to 8. I'm underwhelmed there. Wide receivers, I don't know who's in and out. There's been injuries. I think Dante's out. Juju could be out. Claypool has some. I don't know what you're going to get there. I would be grabbing Washington early and often if you have a deep bench, and I have been grabbing him because you might be able to slip in and collect a little bit there. 64 is okay. Like I said, 50 is poor. 70, Seattle, it's all about that Metcalf and Lockett. And I hear Lockett may be injured, so I don't know who steps up. That concerns me big time. Yeah, you play Metcalf. I got that. But is Swain, do they up Everett's targets? Do they, Homer or G.J. Dallas or something? This is going to be a really intriguing game if Lockett can't play. Be cautious. Frisco, Tampa Bay, Tennessee, Washington. San Francisco, 59. That's probably okay. Trying to get Kittle involved at 9. He can get more San Francisco. Come on now. 7 targets. So 2, 10, 7. Don't you wish data was predictable? It's not. 21's okay, but that's costing the wide receivers some play there, 22. So just be aware. I don't know how deep you can go in San Francisco wide receivers. I'm probably cautious and not investing a lot there. Tampa Bay is 27 is good. It's just they got so many targets. It looks 55 looks worse than it really is because they're hitting Gronk. I heard Gronk is, injured, and I hadn't heard any official designations, but just you might pick up Brait if you're a believer in tight ends and Howard. Trouble is, which one? I guess Brait. I don't know. Howard's probably got the most talent, but they hadn't been using him. Tampa Bay, I guess it's Giovanni Bernard was the pickup. He could be him and Fournette could be a 1-2. Just I don't know if there's going to be enough. If Gronk is out, it's very possible that Giovanni gets as many targets and as much play as last week. So that could be a positive if you pick Bernard up, as a deep waiver wire ad. Tennessee, 5 targets. That's not what we want to see. Tight end, that's week 2, 7. That's just That's 22% running backs. And look at 14. And now, and that's with A.J. Brown out. Is there somebody else? Julio is out, folks. Julio is out. This could be a really sad day for Ryan Tannehill. We're going to have to see, is this a Hendry game because they don't have anybody else to really run it? To pass to. Don't know. Could be a McNichols. He could be a tricky play. I have him in a lot of leagues too. He's been real cheap to acquire. This may be the week to play him in daily fantasy sports or your deep flex. Washington, so sad to see 7, 8, and 4 targets. That and tight end Logan. And then 15, Washington really was skunked last week. You hope they go back to the week before. I don't know what we're getting. Everybody talking about Heineke. I don't know what you're getting. 4, 4, and 15. 60%'s okay, but I'm underwhelmed by those target numbers, folks. Okay, you kind of heard my blathering on. That's what professors do. Okay, so now we're going into the individual positions, just one last roll. In case you didn't pick up, this will summarize the tops and the bottoms in running back over the last 3 weeks. And you could see who's really done well. That would be the ones in green. New Orleans, probably not surprised. Detroit. So these are probably not surprising teams. Look at Kansas City at the bottom. That is weak sauce. Rams, Baltimore. Let's just don't even pass, shall we? Buffalo, that needs to go up. I mean, you can all make a case for why these teams should pass more to their running backs. But there's the numbers. 10% to 32%. That is just, this is nice. Okay, I really love this. And here's the differences. So Pittsburgh with Harris, I don't think they can redo +6. I think 20 is, you won't see that again. Arizona did get 9. That's interesting. Rams got a +3. So, Here's some minuses here. Atlanta went down. Who's this? Is this Houston? Houston went down. Tennessee went down. That worries me. Washington went down. And Detroit went down. So be aware. I guess Baltimore went down. So I'm liking the positives, concerned about the negatives, but here's your better running backs over a 3-week landscape. Here they are right here, just showing sum of targets, and then this is the bars are the usage, high, middle, low. You can find Kansas City sitting at the bottom. This is weak sauce. Rams right there. Baltimore. This is all sad. Right in. This is sad data right here. Okay. New Orleans uses a lot, but they don't target a lot. So that's not good. Okay. So they need to go up. Notice most of these teams are at least above the average. The pink is the average of the usage here, and the inflection points right there at Chicago and Cincinnati, right there. Tight end, here's the top: Cleveland, Kansas City, Raiders. Cleveland has Hooper and Njoku. That's the only thing. I have picked up Hooper. He's been kind of getting some play, but look at week 3, they got 5 targets. So curious to see how week 4 goes, right? So, I did pick up Hooper, though, as a tight end 2 type. But look at the drops here, -6. So see, the ones that were high, we had a lot of those that dropped in week 3. So there's a lot of variation here. Kansas City went up, so that's always good when Kelsey. Here's, what is this? Is this Philadelphia went up? That's intriguing. Here's some more going up. So, and the ones here at the bottom are sad. So, just be aware of, 1-week wonders. Like here's Buffalo. Suck, and nice at 8. But see, everybody's going to see that 8 and forget these weeks. Don't forget those weeks. Okay. And if you look at the target, here's the average, which is about 20%. Isn't that same as the wide receivers? I'm sorry, the running backs. And again, Cleveland, look at KC, almost the top in usage and almost the top in target. Of course, the Raiders are the top in targets, but KC's second. So people are saying, if you didn't get those 2, well, that's why we drafted them 1-2. For that data right there. We, myself included, anticipated that. I would stay away from this world for, with this set of data. Doesn't mean it won't change next couple of weeks. And try to figure out how to use this data to get you a tight end if you need one, or stream one in. Wide receivers, there's the Rams, number 1, 76%. That is so sweet. And they went up. That's great. You hope that Woods collects. Buffalo's up 91. Look at that. But 75 uses, 74. I mean, anything above 60 is about above average here. So you can see there's average. So these are above average, and these are the tops of that. And I put that in green. So feeling confident here. Okay here. Got concerns, especially the depth. It doesn't mean the wide receiver 1 is not okay. It just means your depth is concerning. So worry about this depth here on these teams. Move towards depth on these teams. Consider depth on these teams. So that's how I use that. Here's the average around 61. Here's the inflection here. Baltimore and Chicago about dead on average. Look at Buffalo here. Is it any wonder? They're rocking and rolling. So look at the depth. Sanders, Beasley, Diggs. They are supporting 3 at nice levels, folks. Okay. Look at Jacksonville. It's a little surprising. There's some hope there, but they lost one last night. So I suspect this is going to go down a little bit. Okay. So usage is in the bar and total targets is circle. And look at Tampa Bay's nice, but their usage. That's because they're spreading it to the tight end and the running backs. But if you're generating a whole bunch of targets everywhere, then you can distribute your targets and still come out okay. So that's what Tampa Bay, that's their game. And look at some of the Pittsburgh, the Chargers, Minnesota, Dallas. So you can see some of the top where your wide receiver ones are sitting, some of these teams here. And then the deep concerns that we have on New Orleans and even Cleveland. Okay, so, and Philadelphia's issues. Okay, so look at this. Consider what this means for week 4. Okay, so this is just showing the tops and bottoms for the week 3 differences. I just sorted them by teams just to see who was high, who was low. This is going to be a lot of variation, but you can just get a sense. So this is more for reference. Not sure I would hang a lot of that because those games will not exist again, right? That was last week. But it just kind of wakes you up to potential trends, right? I mean, you know, if you're going to take some gambles, then you would love to fly with the trends versus, you know, buck the negatives. You know, that's really bold here. If if you're fishing in this area, these teams for those positions. So this is the player targets per team. Each team gets its own. We'll gently go through those. I'm not sure there's a lot of, more information we can gather. Arizona, Edmonds is all about the targets last week. Connor got one. So Connor is not probably usable so much in PPR. He's kind of downgraded a little bit, even though he got some action last week. Just be aware. Max Williams, everybody rushed to get him. I took him but a few because you never know. I mean, we had 2 weeks of data, a 1 and a 7. What are we thinking? So now we get a 3. So we get what we deserve, right? There we go. So I guess you're going to have to pick your spots with him. Kurt Hopkins Green got 6 at 8. Moore apparently lost fashion last week. I mean, you cannot support 4 wide receivers unless somebody gets hurt, folks. So it looks like more is less. And unfortunately, he's probably just an injury wide receiver on a deep bench, or maybe a spot play, especially if one of these is injured. So keep your eyes open. Hate this for Hopkins because he's getting lost in the muddle here a little bit. So he's going to have to really work hard to pay off is what draft capital he cost us. Davis got 4. Could be better, could be worse. Pitts, Lee Smith did the same as Pitts. Uh-oh. Those that took Pitts 4th. Rut row. What are we going to get? I don't know. Ridley. Patterson gets 7. Zacchaeus gets 6. Is Gage coming back? Then does, If Gage comes back, it looks like it really gets muddled. It's Ridley plus whoever. These are just lottery tickets here, folks. I mean, Patterson, you get the wide receiver, the running back, double position there. But other than that, Tyson Williams, who? Not good. Andrews gets 7. That's good, but we need to get that close to 10, Baltimore. Let me call them up and tell them. That's not what we drafted Andrews to be. We want him to be closer to 10. Brown and Watkins, we really didn't draft Brown to be a 1A to Watkins 1B. So Watkins obviously is getting more play than people anticipated. Good for them. If we knew this now, the ADPs would be quite different between those two. Devin Singletary gets a 2. Moss gets a 3. The week before it was 3 and 2. Wouldn't it be nice if it, and notice before when Moss would play was a 5. So do they have a script where they only give 5? If that's true, then that really hurts the value of both in PPR. That sucks, but it's all about the passing. Look at Beasley, 13 targets. He out-targeted Diggs. Sanders gets 6. He looks like the number 3 type. Gabriel, I guess you just hold on for an injury. McCaffrey got 2 and got injured. Chuba got 5. That's good. I think they got rid of Arnold, right? So he's gone. Jacksonville, he did pretty good. So who's the Thomas? Good luck. Moore got 12. Anderson really. So Anderson got a 3, a 6, which is great for him, and a 2. So Anderson's is back to being unpredictable now. That's not what we drafted him to be. Last year he had a lot more steady play. Marshall, 6 and 5 and 3, 14 and 11. So Anderson's the 3rd, Marshall's the 2nd. But 5 targets, hard to make a living on for us. Not sure there's anybody other than Moore. I guess those, if you have an injury, Marshall would go up. So maybe that, you don't trade him away or anything. Montgomery gets a 4. Williams didn't play, so should that have been a 7 or a 6? Yeah. Commit, I don't know what we get. We get a 7, a 1, and a 4. Good luck picking him. I'm staying away. Robinson, 6, 4. Boy, that's folks, that is not good. 6 targets. I want 11 with Dalton. I'm sorry. I want, this is what I want. I want week 1 back. I don't want this week. I'm not sure Robinson is super playable until you can get Dalton back. I guess Fields will get better, but boy, I don't want it to cost me a season this year waiting for it. Mixon didn't get a lot of passing last night. He got injured a little bit. Uzama woke up. It was his night. Boyd did good at 6. Chase, so Boyd picked it up. Higgins is out. So Alden Tate didn't do much. So I guess it's probably Higgins. I mean, if you do an average, it would be, well, I guess if you did a median, Higgins is going to beat Chase, I think. Maybe not. Hunt, I really like that number 7, so that's good. Don't like to see that 3. That's bad. Okay. Chubb gets nothing. I wish Chubb would get something. Njoku was out. Hooper only got 3, so you're going around 3 or 4, and you hope he gets a touchdown. He's just a desperation thing. I picked him up, but not liking the 3. Beckham and forget. Beckham and forget. Beckham and forget. Les Landry comes back. Pollard got a 1. Ezekiel got a 3. Did they? So Ezekiel talked him into, let's not play Pollard any. What's going on here? Schultz got a 7. Last week he got a 2. First week got a 6. So 2 weeks good, 1 week bad. What do we get this week? I guess you got to go with Schultz. I think he's saying, but he's definitely a 2. I don't know. Look at these targets, 3, 4, and 4. Are you kidding me? Lamb getting 3. Folks, this, if you have Dallas, just be aware that was a poor week. Poor week. Not happy with any of that. Javonte got his 4. That's good. Glad to see him wake up. Didn't seem to hurt Gordon any. Looks like Fant went down. That's not good. So does Williams steals Fant's. I didn't draft Fant to be 3. Sutton, Patrick, Hamner's gone. So it's 5-5. So I'm hoping we'll get more 8-8 maybe until Judy comes back. Have deep concerns for Denver as well. Swift, love that 7. Williams, do not love the 2. Hockenson 2. It's something. Hockenson said the defense was after him. Yeah. Darren Fells gets 3. I'm hoping he gets back on track. I have a lot of Hockenson shares, so not happy. Khalif Raymond and sit and forget. I don't know. I'm worried about all of them. I guess for a deep play, maybe. Okay, Green Bay here. Boy, Aaron Jones 6 to 2. That's not good. We're not looking at that. Tanya got 1. Come on, man. 18. So it's all about Devontae Adams, I guess. Kind of a one-trick pony here. I know that Aaron runs and rushes, so that I hope both those stay healthy for Green Bay. David Johnson didn't get any targets. They only had 2 total for Houston. Akins got 5. Brown didn't even play, so 5 is not great. But Houston does like tight ends, at least historically. Cooks got 11. Miller got 6. So I am interested in Miller. If everything's going to the wide receivers, then it looks like Miller could be, until Amendola comes back anyway, could be slated for 6 or so targets, maybe more. That could be a little surprise there. Picking him up in places I can. Hines 6. And looks like when Indianapolis is rolling, Hines is going to get his. He's definitely a key piece. I think Marlon Mack's leaving. Doyle and Cox got 2, so I don't know. I think that's a mistake not using Doyle. But Pittman, Pascal, looks like the 1-2. Till Hilton gets back, if he ever gets back. I think Pittman's fine. Pascal's roll of the dice. James Robinson, loved that 6. And I don't know how many targets he got last night, but that was nice. The tight end looked like the new guy. he's going to take O'Shaughnessy's place. So I'm assuming a week 4 data will show that. Marvin Jones, Chenault, because Shark got hurt. So it's probably going to be 1A, 1B. So I don't know if people dropped Chenault. If they did, go grab him. Solaire gets 2. Nothing really happening with him, folks. 5 targets total for the season. That's weak. Kelsey 11. That's expected and needed if we invested in him first. That's good. Getting a few other miscellaneous tight ends there. I'm not happy with all these other cats in there. Wish they'd carve about 2 of those away. Anyway, Tyreek 7, Pringle 6. What? And Hardman was 8, Pringle was 2. So the trick is, it's Tyreek Hill or guess, and that's not good for us. Eckler getting 6, got 0 week 1. What blank 6? That's low. Like the 9 much better. Good luck picking the handcuff there. Cook 3. Can't make a living on 3, folks. It's not good. I picked him up as a tight end too in some places. Not good. Allen Williams. It's the Allen Williams show. I really thought Guyton was going to be worth a pickup, but 1 target, can't make, I was expecting 5 or 6. So I think I've got him in a few. I may prune down and get rid of him. I was hoping that this was a fluke, but not happy about that. But he was wide receiver 3. Michelle 4. Henderson's hurt, so I'm assuming we'll get 4 or 5 targets. Higbee gets 5. That's better than 1. I don't know. It's all about Cooper Kupp, folks. And the rest, poor Woods. You thought he was dominating, now he's not. Look at that. I don't know what that means. That is not good. And I have Woods in places. I guess Jefferson's the pickup for the injury issue if one of these falls. Drake gets a 6. Peyton Barber gets a 5. So I guess you're going to have to invest in those 2. I guess Barber's the hot dog now and everybody likes it. So I guess he's the way. I don't know. Not sure how I feel about that. Ready for Jacobs to come back. Waller 7. That's low. Dear Raiders, we need about 10. Renfro, Ruggs, Edwards. 5, 6, 7. It's a you guess 'em. That's not good if you got either one of those to have a 3-way split. I thought Renfro would be. Let's just say this. Renfro looks good for the 1 or 2. It's just trying to figure out how Ruggs and Edwards fit. So far Ruggs has been the 2 and Edwards has been the 3. So that's probably how it was, but I didn't like this week for that scenario. Gaskins is fine. Malcolm Brown, where did he come from? Come on, man. Gesicki got 12. He won't get 12 this week, folks. Hopefully he'll get 8 or 10. So you're hoping if you grabbed him as your late one. Waddle here, Parker, Fuller. Looks like Waddle, and then these 2 fight. I have Fuller in places, Parker and Waddle, so I probably need to. I got too much Miami wide receivers. It's just trying to pick which one to get rid of. Madison, really love that. Hope Cook gets back, though. Conklin got an 8. Yeah, we need that. So I'm hopeful. Jefferson, Thielen, 1-2. I really thought KJ would be better than 2. So I don't understand that. I don't know if he got hurt. So I've got him in too many places. If this is his show, I don't have enough of him. If that's his show, I got too much. If that's his show, I got just right. So week 4 and 5 and 6 will tell me. I'm probably hold, but concerned. James White's gone. I think Bolden takes his place. Harris, he doesn't get many targets anyway. He's the rusher. But he didn't get a lot of play. Smith and Henry split it. Looks like here we go again. Let's cut our fantasy points, shall we? Myers is the one. Aguilar Bourne. It's a you guess 'em. It's a you guess 'em. So Myers for sure, and then you're gambling with the other two. Kamara gets a 4. I guess Jones is next now. I don't know. Let's not use our tight end, shall we? Yeah. Callaway is a 5. Harris 3. Kenny Stills a 3. That's 3 and 5. Things got to wake up here, folks. This is not going. New Orleans is not going to do well long term with this kind of production. So they've done well with what they have. Barkley gets a 7. That's probably higher than he'll get, but that's great. If you got him, you're going woohoo. There's Ingram with a 6. Hope that goes up to 8 to 10 a week. Really optimistic. Probably too much so. Galladay's the 1. Colin Johnson is 7. Is he the 2? Tony? Things could get muddled here week 4, folks. Even though people think it's Galladay and then Tony and Johnson, I'm not convinced of that. Johnson may be a slippery pickup. Carter and Ty Johnson, I don't know. Who's doing what here? Not good. Let's not use our tight ends. Here's Corey Davis at 10. That's probably his high, low, so maybe 7 or 8. Barrios got a 3. The ball dropped on him and then more. So which one is the 2? You guess them. I'm taking Davis. Maybe Moore is steadier, but boy, I like that 7 and 11. That's a tough pick. Sanders and Gainwell tied. Boston's got a 2. Looks like they're going to spread it around. That doesn't help anybody. Helps no one. Ertz gets a 7. How did you predict Ertz getting a 7? 2, 2, 7? I don't know what that means long term. I picked Ertz up because he was basically for a dollar kind of per play. Everybody picked Goddard up with way too much draft capital. So if either one's out there, pick them up cheap or don't pick them up. Smith, Rager. So it's Rager, Smith, Smith, Rager, Smith, Rager. So I guess Smith over Rager. I don't know. It's a 1A, 1B. 6 and 8 is not what I like to see. I like to see 8 and 10. So I'm underwhelmed. 19, there's no way he's getting 19. Probably not a 3. Maybe an 8. That'd be nice to get an 8. I guess if I had Ebron, I would trade him in at this point. Either take him or just find somebody else. Claypool's a 15. That's nice. Juju, Washington's 5. Ray McLeod. Here's the thing. If Washington's really was that hot dog, why is Ray Ray getting in there? Come on. This should have been an 8. If he was, I've got Claypool, Johnson, Schuster, and Watt. I've got all 4. I've got too much. But I got to figure out which ones to prune. And you probably have that same problem. I guess whichever one, if I'm trading, whichever one I could get more value for, that may be Schuster. Keep Washington. I don't know how I'd do that. I'd have to think. Homer, I guess, is the number 2 now. Okay, so Homer's your backup for Carson. If you got Carson, you might want to get a Homer. Everett, that could go up. I think we hadn't seen the best of Everett yet. Lockett got hurt. Here it is. Metcalf for sure, and Lockett, Swain went down. So you would have thought that 2 would have been, and then Penny Hart. Not happy that Swain had competition here. I guess if Lockett's out, it'd be Metcalf. These 2 maybe? Swain maybe? I don't know. I picked up Swain because of this movement, but it sure flopped, didn't it? Not sure how I play that. Sermon and Juszczyk. We need Hasty back for our pass catcher, and Mitchell. Kittle 9. That's high. That should be average, and it's not. So that I need to see a repeat. Samuel Ayuk. Sanu. I guess you could pick him up for $1 and wait. So that's probably how I'd play him. Pick him up cheap or spend no money on him. Bernard woke up here. Jones didn't get a target, so I guess Jones is out. I guess it's Bernard. Gronk got 7. Notice Brate came in there, so that's why if Gronk is really hurt, I guess Brate and Howard, and Brate's over Howard maybe? Brate may be out there. You might pick him up if you have Gronk. Evans, Godwin, and Tyler Johnson. What? I guess he's the replacement for Brown. Scotty Miller, I think he's out. So I guess Johnson may be out there for cheap. This is a high-flying targeting. He's worth the pickup, folks. Pick him up right now. Stop the playing. Go look for him for cheap or nothing. They'll pay nothing for him. Henry got a 3 with McNichols. I think McNichols is a good handcuff. I'm forgetting tight ends. A.J. Brown's hurt. Julio's out. So this is the new squawk. Westbrook with 4. Oh, I see some data. Look. So he did a 2, a 1, and a 4. So these 2 should go here. My bad. So I guess Westbrook, Rodgers, and some of these. I guess this guy's going to get, I don't know if he's good enough to take the defensive attention. Rodgers may be a slippery play. Gibson, McKissick, 2 and 2. That's, I would love to see 5 and 6. Thomas dropped, so it's 3, 4. Looks like 4. Look, is after its average, that's not good. We did not draft him to be a 4. Come on. McLaurin is 7. That's low. So 4, 14, 7. We were hoping closer to 10. Humphreys at a 4. Humphreys might be cheap. I'm picking him up just, with pay nothing. This is only, when I say that, that's I play in leagues that have like 10 on the bench or something. It's insane how deep the benches are, and I love it because I can pick up and then throw them away because I like to do that. Okay. Okay, so here are the positions, players, targets, the tops towards the bottoms here. You can kind of find it. So this is just reference only. Here's reference as well. Just looking at the data, see who's tops, who's not. See what you think. Some names I would like to have seen higher, some lower. Brandon Cooks is a surprise. I took him all day long in best ball over the summer. Really proud of that. Here's some more data. Check it out. So this is just good reference material for you. Okay, so now we are looking at differences, who went up and who went down. So obviously people got hurt, went down. People that probably took advantage of that went up. So see if you got any surprises in here. Barber's a surprise. Bernard's a surprise. So find some targets here that are people are forgetting about. More reference than anything. Gasecki definitely went up, but I don't think he's going to keep that. Hollister, they got the new. Jacksonville didn't use him. So Ingram, I'm hopeful. Ertz went up. Great. Watch him. Here's the wide receivers. Who's up, who's down. Raymond in Detroit sure got a lot of play. So did Khalid Johnson. Okay, so those may be some targets there. If you got a deep bench and it doesn't cost anything and you're not really getting rid of anybody good, then it's worth a gamble. So that's how I play usually Saturday. I sit around and acquire people like just like that. Just, trying to anticipate because people like in a trend, they like to see two of a trend in one direction. Okay, that's just kind of human nature. So I try to beat it before everybody else sees it. Especially with the deep bench, you have an opportunity. And if it doesn't play out, get rid of them and move on. This is now my rushing and passing for the running backs only. This is again reference. You can see the week 3. Here's 1, 2, and 3 for rushing and attempts, and then the passing here. So Edmonds is the passing, Connor is the rusher. But Edmonds is getting a lot of running as well. So that's why he's more valuable than Connor, just for that distribution here. Mike Davis getting 4 targets. That's not bad. 17 total. That's good. You can look to see. Williams does get a little bit of action here. You can take a look. Singletary. But Moss is catching up with him, folks. Caffrey got hurt. Hubbard came on and got 5. So that's good. Montgomery, you can look at their rushing. Mixon doesn't do passing. He's the rusher. I don't know who the passer is. Evans, maybe? I don't know. P. Ryan, maybe? Here's Chubb. Well, Hunt is the pass catcher, not the rusher. Even though week 2 he out rushed Chubb. So that's why Hunt is so valuable, these guys, because of that in PPR. Elliott and Pollard's catching the passes. Gordon and Javonte. So you would think they'd be using him more, but they actually use Gordon more, except for last week. Swift, wow. 23, 14. That is just phenomenal numbers. Jones, he's all you want your one to be. Ingram was top, but they just don't pass a lot. Look at that. That's weak sauce. They need to change that. Lindsey, they're not using Lindsey well. And Johnson, they got a lot of mouths to feed here. Taylor, 17, 15, 10. Hines took over. That is, you did not draft Taylor to do that. Robinson is nice, 15 and 15. That's a nice, balance. Here's 31 and 15. Nice. Here's Hyde. Hyde was a scratch, really strange. Soler, 44 and 5. They really need a pass catcher. Eckler rushed and he catches passes, except for week 1. That's just ridiculous. Still ridiculous. Sony got 20. That's nice. And got some passes. Sony could be moving up, folks. Of course, I think everybody knew that last week. So, Peyton Barber, hope you grabbed him. He's definitely a stash and hold, but that's 23 versus, let's forget about Drake. Let's just make him the passer. That's what it looks like to me. Looks like Drake is in a row and they're not going to move him out of it. So if you've drafted Drake other than being an occasional pass catcher, looks like you're not going to get much. Gaskin, looks like he's the full meal deal. Cook, of course, you know what he is. And Madison can take his place. Look at that. He can do what Dalvin can do. Even caught 8 here. So that's good. Harris dropped 23, 16, 6. Boy, that's bad. James White's gone. So I think we're down to Bolden is the pass catcher. I think they're going to use Bolden a lot this week. 52-14, so it's the Kamara show, Saquon show. Carter or Johnson, they're almost the same, and even looks like they shut Coleman down. I think you can get rid of him unless you want to keep as an injury. I don't think I'd invest here. Sanders, Gainwell's definitely a good handcuff because he can catch passes. Harris, of course, look at that, 19, goodness. I just don't know what to think about that. Carson, 12. Carson's underutilized. I don't care what Seattle says. Mitchell, we need you back. Looks like Juszczyk is the passer. I do not know what Tampa Bay is doing. Look at this. I guess they don't want to rush anymore, so let's pass. So they did 13 versus 9. Very few teams do that kind of proportion. Only Tampa Bay could get away with that. So I guess expect more of that. Jones is really locked in, is an afterthought almost. Henry, so great. And McNichols is hopefully the number 2. I got him as number 2 when I have Henry. Gibson, you would think McKissick would get more play than 2. So that if you invested in McKissick, you're probably not happy about that number. I color-coded for your reference, and also called it with rush, pass, or both. So I kind of trying to label these based on 3 weeks. That's just my thinking. So you can look at this. And then how they scored for their opportunities. So opportunities are pass attempts and rushing attempts. I add that together and that's opportunities. And then we'll see what that's all about. And so then I figure out how many points they scored. So Zach Moss is the most efficient. Look at that. 1.3 is points per opportunity is spectacular. So that's good. Edmonds and Connor actually rushing and the pass and rushing. Look at that. They're almost tied. So take a look. I did a graph. So the red is the rushing. The blue is the passing differences. And then the points per opportunity. So anything high, like Zach Moss sitting there, that really stands out across the landscape. So when you think Zach Moss is 1.3 good, yeah, take a look at this. Okay. So yeah, what you'll have when people are rare and they'll score a point and maybe only have one or two opportunities, that skews the data. Just as long as you understand that, can you look at this data that way? So take a look at my designations, decide how you want. In a PPR, you probably want to pay attention for handcuff purposes to the who's the passer and who's both. So I guess P. Ryan is both, so he would be the number 2 under Mixon, that kind of thing. So use that to make some conclusions. You can see here that, oh, and by the way, this was the differences from week 3 to the week 1 and 2. So who's gone down? Obviously, McCaffrey went down because he was hurt. So McCaffrey was down. Hubba's obviously up because he took over, and Freeman went up a little bit in the rushing. And then who went up in the passing? Kareem Hunt went up in the passing. Sorry, Kareem Hunt. And then here's the rusher here with Chubb. This is nice points here, Felton, but he just doesn't do enough activity here. And you can see that some of this is more below the line, is more average than you think. And again, you can kind of see who's doing what. So Pollard's actually producing more per opportunity than Elliott, but Elliott's getting more opportunities. So you have to balance that. So that metric just tells you, and the coaches know that, and so that's why Pollard's going to be the number 2, because the coaches know that he's producing pretty good. And Javante's producing pretty good, but Gordon's still out producing him. So he's being used more and point more. So people that drafted Javante, his time is not here yet, if it ever makes it here. Here's Swift versus Williams. Now, on the other hand, they're almost the same. Coaches know that. So, it would surprise me that one could outpoint the other one week. Jones versus, I guess, Dillon is the next. And then here's, again, here's Pollard here, nice numbers. Here's Swift, nice number. Jones, that's a nice number. Gordon. So you can see these RB1s are really putting up production for opportunities here. So Burkhead hadn't got much, but boy, when he did, he produced. Johnson the same way, and Lindsey. Mark Ingram's probably had the most activity, but the least efficient. Hines, look at this. The coach knows Hines. With this kind of number, they're going to give Hines his due, folks. If you've got Taylor, just realize Hines is not going away with doing this kind of activity. And McKinnon's sitting out there. The coaches see that, even though Williams is probably the second best. If Solaire goes down, which one of it may be a committee between these two. Just be aware of that as well. Rex here is McKinnon. He's just not getting any opportunity, but when he did, he did well. Eckler is taking care of business, so I guess this guy's they know neighbors. Is he I don't know. Or Jackson? Everybody talking about Roundtree. He hadn't done a lot with his opportunities. I guess, well, Michelle, things are going to change here with Henderson hurt, so it's hard to make a grab on. Here's Jacobs. Look at that. That's why they want him back so bad. Look at that. That's one of the best in the whole league. Okay. Here's Barber. See? 0.5. He's like, Jacob's 3 times better than Barber on points per opportunity. Hard to guess the second, isn't it, with Gaskins? Don't know. Your pick. Here's Jacobs right here. That's a great number. CJ Ham just does not get a lot, but here's Madison, even better than Cook, so they love Madison as the number 2. Stevenson, folks, I understand people are saying he's the one to get eventually. I agree. The coaches are aware of that. Maybe he's going to get more opportunity with White gone, but right now I think it's Bolden. He's the number 3. So I think long term you might acquire him. Certainly in Dynasty, everybody's already grabbed him. Montgomery could be the number 2, but Jones is okay, but it's hard to tell on that. Barkley is okay, but that's not. He needs to show more like he did last week. Then you can look at the data as well. That's why the Jets don't know what's going on, because this numbers are so close. Scott gets their attention. Care what people, just be aware. Scott is not going anywhere. Gainwell's there, and look at Sanders. I think if Sanders is gone, Gainwell and Scott would play the roles. I don't think Gainwell would just be the dog. Not at all. I guess Harris. People think Snell. It might be what? I think it's Homer. Look at that for Carson's number 2. See, sometimes I think coaches think about points in some ways. Hasty. Look at that. That's a nice number. You want to invest in him in PPR. Bernard, look at that number. You want him in PPR. McNichols, I think, is Henry's second. McKissick's actually doing better than Gibson in PPR points there. You can look at that. Okay, that's my 10-cent tour. 1 hour, 37 minutes. I know I've lost most every one of you, but you get to hear what I think, just my quick snap judgment. I'll take a look at this deeper, folks, and I suggest you look at the actual data and scroll through it. It's a lot. Most people, but where's the real answers? Basically, here, will you do it? Will you tie my shoe for me? Folks, we got to move beyond that. Come on, tie your shoe. Come on. It's the old professor for the process, targets and attempts. Check out Fake Pigskin. It's all good and fun.